Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's a long day. My guess is you've done one visit already this morning. And it's kind of a lazy Wednesday afternoon here in Boston in the summertime. My name is John Mahoney. I'm the Vice Provost for Enrollment Management here at BC. And we're really delighted that you've placed Boston College on your summer college visit itinerary. We plan to make the next 2 hours well worth your investment of time and energy. The first hour will be spent in here. This is called an Eagle Eye information session. We like to pride ourselves on doing it differently. We think, and we do it about as well as anybody does it. And we sort of work from the premise that there's a lot of information out there about Boston College. You're all very smart people. You've already begun to research these colleges that you're visiting. You know a lot about them before you even arrive on these campuses. So print material, web material, you know a lot as you get here. So my purpose today would not be to stand here in front of you and recite what's in the publications or on the website, but to add some real value to your experience because you have invested time in us. I think the best way to do that is for me to play a minimal role at the beginning, set BC in a bit of a framework maybe for you in terms of the other colleges that you might be investigating. And I'll come back at the end and talk about admissions and costs and financial aid. But the majority of the hour will be given over in a few minutes to 4 currently enrolled Boston College undergraduates. They will come up here. They will introduce themselves to you. They will tell you a little bit about how they got to Boston College, perhaps. They will certainly tell you a lot about what they're doing at Boston College right now, in and outside of the classroom. They will also maybe speculate on what they might be doing post-Boston College, which none of them really like to think about very much. And so they will do that, and I think it's a great way to go because what more authentic voices on life at Boston College can you have than individuals who are in the classrooms, taking the classes, interacting with our faculty, participating in the extracurricular life, living in the residence halls, eating the food, doing all the things that BC students typically do. They're the best sources of information. And to you prospective applicants / students, I really urge you, as you listen to me for a few minutes, as you listen to them talk about their experiences here, to begin thinking about what you want to ask them to draw out of them. Because we like to think that we're different. I'll tell you a little bit how I think we're different. But that's your big challenge right now as you research schools, and especially as you apply to schools. You're going to have to make some choices. You have to know what's going to be the best place for you during this important 4-year period of your lives. These are people who are living one experience, and for the most part, really liking it. And so you can go deep with them. They will really be able to provide you those kinds of insights. Take advantage of their wisdom and their insight. The end of that hour or so about 3:30, another group of students will come down the aisle, divide you into reasonably sized groups. You'll exit either side. As you see, there's tons of water here. Please take advantage of that on these warm days. And they'll take you around our campus, which some would say, you may have noticed this already coming in, is under construction. We don't say construction around here. We say we're making progress. There's lots of progress happening on this campus. It's amazing to think that it will all be cleaned up by the day the classes begin here on August 29th. But it will. All right, I'm going to just do 3 things with you to set the stage for my colleagues, who will really be, I think, the best information sources for you. I'm going to talk first about the academic offerings. I mean, we are first and foremost an academic institution. You are looking for an education, a great education over this 4-year period. So I just want to talk about what's available here. And I don't present this to you with any expectation that any of you know what you want to major in right now or know what you want to do. Some think they do. Some might be thinking that they do. Others might be totally confused and undecided, not really knowing at all. I think those are the luckiest people of all. I say as you look at the roster of things that we offer in that brochure, I'm going to just touch them briefly. As you look at the roster, if you see things that you are good at, and you see things that you like, then okay, you're going to be all right. You'll find something. You'll find a passion. That's what I think college should be about, discovering your passions and really going for it once you get here. But if you decide to apply, you must make your application to one of our 4 undergraduate colleges. That's important to keep in mind. The largest and the most diverse in terms of its offerings is the Morrison College of Arts and Sciences, where you could earn a degree in anything from the fine arts, to the humanities, to the social sciences, to the natural sciences, to Romance languages, to a Department of Communications, to very good pre-law and pre-medical advisory programs. As I said, if you are undecided at this point, wonderful thing to be at age 17, 18. But I would recommend you apply to Morrissey College because it will give you the greatest degree of choice in terms of ultimately selecting that major. Okay? The other three colleges are smaller and much more pre-professional in their outlook. We've got first the Carroll School of Management, a really well-known undergraduate business program. There you could earn a concentration in something like accounting, or finance, or marketing, or information systems, or human resources management, and many more that I won't list for you. But if you're looking for a solid foundation to some kind of business-related career, the Carroll School would be a good choice. Third choice, Lynch School of Education and Human Development. I always look out at a group like this, young people in particular, and hope, since my entire career has been spent in the field of education, secondary school and not collegiate, I always hope that there are young people pondering using their gifts and their talents as teachers, because we need them out there. And so, the Lynch School of Education, on one hand, is a teacher preparation and certification program. You could graduate from Boston College in 4 years and be certified to teach elementary school students or secondary school students. We also have a couple of other majors done under the umbrella of the Lynch School. That would be applied psychology and human development, very popular. Prepares you for careers in what I'll loosely call human services, like social work, counseling psychology, human resources, those kinds of things. And then lastly, there's a relatively new major in the Lynch School that's called Transformational Educational Studies. That one's just getting started, and we can certainly explore that one if you wish. The final program, the final college, I should say, that you could apply to is the Connell School of Nursing. Sort of self-explanatory. If you're interested in becoming a practicing nurse or earning a Bachelor of Science in Nursing, you'll apply to the Connell School. And I think the Connell School is one among many examples that we could cite of how BC enjoys its proximity to the city of Boston. Because about 5 miles from where you're sitting right now are some of the best teaching hospitals in the world. The Massachusetts General, the Brigham Women's, the Beth Israel Deaconess, great places where our students go to get their clinical training under faculty supervision. So that's the academic landscape. Those are the offerings of the university. Again, don't sweat that right now from my standpoint. And by the way, knowledge of a major or lack of knowledge of a major in the application process has no bearing on the admission decision. You apply to one of those colleges, if you list undecided, do so proudly, has no bearing on what we do with the admission decision. Okay? Second thing I'll talk about is size, and maybe the good way to introduce that is to say, I've just run down the 4 colleges. We're going to be enrolling a freshman class here. They start classes August 29 this year. When classes begin, roughly 1,600 of them will be enrolled in that Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences. Roughly 550 of them will be enrolled in that Carroll School of Management. Roughly 120 will be enrolled in that Lynch School of Education and Human Development. And exactly 100 will be enrolled in the Connell School of Nursing. If my math is correct, and it better be, it works out to a little bit over 2,300 students in our freshman class. Multiply the 2,300 by 4, and you've got our undergraduate population, which is about 9,000 students, which I would classify as a medium-sized university, at least if you look at it in the context of American higher education, which is rich with opportunity. And I want to spend a few minutes talking about that coming up. That number 9,000 might sound large to you, based on some of the high schools that you're coming out of. Our student-faculty ratio is 11 to 1. More importantly, the average class size is 27 students. We're in a pretty large lecture hall here right now. There are more of these, probably 4 or 5 of them situated across the campus. So for some of the introductory level core curriculum courses, you could be in a lecture hall this large that would break down periodically into discussion sections. But certainly once you've declared a major, and once you're doing upper level work in that major, you can expect 20, 25, 30 students pretty much as the board. Some other metrics, There's great diversity on this campus, and diversity can be defined in many ways. There's geographic diversity. 48 states are represented here. We're only missing the Dakotas right now. Good strategy would be to move to one of those states. Our odds would go up. 48 states and about 60 different foreign countries, so great geographic diversity. Ethnic diversity, 35% of our student body is African American, Hispanic, Asian, Native American students. Another 8% beyond that are international students. And there's even religious diversity, which will sort of tip my last talking point before I turn this over to my colleagues. We are a Catholic Jesuit university. If some of you know that arriving here, certainly there are two families, I won't call attention to them, but two families in the front row that come from, the students go to Jesuit high schools. So we are Catholic, we are Jesuit. And yet, right now, roughly 70% of our students identify themselves as coming from Catholic backgrounds, the other 30% from a variety of other religious backgrounds, or in some cases, no religious background or orientation. And that kind of diversity is what makes the experience richer. Jesuit education is very much about having many voices around the table. We learn the most when we're studying texts or exploring issues and having different perspectives, whether they be religious, whether they be socioeconomic, you name it. Those kinds of perspectives raise everybody's consciousness. Okay? Now, I talked about American higher education. It offers so much, from small liberal arts colleges, many of which are here in New England. I think about Amherst and Williams here in Massachusetts, Middlebury College in Vermont, great school. Maine has Bates, Bode, and Colby. You've also got probably the educational system that most of the world knows us for, the large public land-grant institutions in all states, UMass, University of Michigan, the Ohio State University. There's a big, I see people cheering. Which one were you cheering? Ohio State, okay. So that's a good example. So those small liberal arts colleges, total population of those schools, probably 2,000, 3,000, at most 4,000 students. Very, very small. The Ohio State University, last time I checked, had 50,000 undergraduate students. A vastly different experience at two different institutions. You all need to decide which institution is best for you. They're both great schools. They're both different kinds, they're different great schools in their own rights. You have to decide what's going to appeal to you the most. As I said, BC sort of falls in the middle of the two extremes. But I want to leave you with one point that I think is important to decide. And that is that I really believe, and I've worked here for 38 years, and I went here for 4 years for my undergraduate degree. I think BC combines the best elements of both extremes. That's what I mean by that. What I mean is that as we're hiring faculty today, we are hiring terrific faculty, really high-powered faculty, because of the academic reputation of this place. We're hiring people who are well-known or certainly project to do important research in their chosen fields. We're interested in those people. However, in the hiring process at Boston College, we make it abundantly clear that we also want them to be teaching undergraduate students, the kind of experience you've had at a small liberal arts college. So the research piece you'd find maybe at that large public institution, the teaching, the emphasis on student-faculty interaction, that happens with liberal arts colleges. I think we do both really well. And that's the secret here. I was just looking at my office, give you one example of how this is accomplished at BC. We have a core curriculum, which we're going to talk about in a second, a liberal arts core that's expected of all students. We have a very exciting new set of offerings in that core curriculum, exclusively for freshmen. It's called the Core Renewal Program. And it's teaching core courses through interdisciplinary lenses. There's a course being offered this fall at BC, open only to freshmen, called The Meaning of Boston. And the premise of the course is to sort of explode the tropes and the stereotypes about this city, and to delve into fiction, literature, but also to delve into its history, to look at those in the context of a larger country, the world. But the real secret is the teachers. The history professor is my boss. He's the provost of the university, the chief academic officer, David Quigley, a noted historian, a published historian. And the English professor, a guy named Carlo Rotella, who writes in Harper's, The New Yorker. I just read a piece of his in the Washington Post magazine. He's a nonfiction writer. He loves studying blues musicians. So these are the two people that will be teaching this course on the city of Boston. I know because we've already done orientation, it's filled. They restricted to 19 students. So some lucky freshmen are going to have the provost and this great English professor. That's the kind of thing that we emphasize. We want students having that kind of interaction. My last point is this Catholic Jesuit piece, which really does make us distinctive. There are about 3,000 or so four-year colleges and universities in this country. Overwhelmingly. Only 200 of them are Catholic, though. And of the 200 Catholic colleges and universities, just 27 are operated by the Jesuits. The Jesuits being a specific order of Catholic priests who date back 500 years ago. Founded in the Basque region of Spain by this man named Ignatius of Loyola. You'll see the statue right outside here. He was educated at the University of Paris, fell in with a group of friends who shared like values and like ideals, and the rest is history. They began opening secondary schools, colleges, universities, and here we are 500 years later. And Jesuit education, if I may say so, is really recognized as sort of an international gold standard. It really, some amazing schools. There are 200 Jesuit colleges and universities spanning the world. So we're part of that network. And I could go on forever because I believe in Jesuit education, the transformative power of Jesuit education. Two things I'm going to leave you with about it, though. Number one, the educational model is we believe strongly in the power, the value, and the critical importance of a broadly based liberal arts education for every student. A lot of you are already focusing on that major issue. What am I going to specialize in? What am I going to do? You'll get there. And you will declare a major or a double major. And it may take you to graduate school, it may take you to the job market. But we believe in an increasingly challenging world, the way that technology continues to change the way that we live and work. A broadly based liberal arts education exposes you to many different subject areas, many different ideas, many different ways of looking at the world. So you're going to be exposed to literature, to philosophy, to theology, to history, social sciences, natural sciences, mathematics, a required course in fine art, a required course in cultural diversity. The intent being that at the end of 4 years, you've got that specialty, but you've also got a broader pool of knowledge that you can draw upon. And a great liberal arts education, what it really does, of course, the meaning of Boston in particular, as I read the description of it, is really designed to develop students' critical reading skills, thinking and problem-solving skills. That's what a liberal arts education does. And most importantly in today's fast-paced world, great communication skills with the written word and spoken word. I would argue that those are skills that will never go out of fashion no matter how far technology advances. Employers will always want somebody who can get up in front of a room and make a convincing presentation, and who can write clearly and effectively. So that's what we're going to do from a pedagogical standpoint in the Jesuit model. The second piece is really the separator, though, and that's the fact that we call ourselves, and we're not a very boastful institution, I might add, but we boast on this. We call ourselves the leader in formative education. Jesuit education is sort of predicated on this idea that you arrive on our doorsteps at the age of 18, and adolescence. You'll leave us at the age of 22, young adulthood. I don't think anybody in the room would argue with me that that's not a critical phase in any human being's development. And it's not just intellectual. It's social, it's emotional, psychological, spiritual, all of those things. You're growing. You're really, in many ways, becoming the person that you're going to be. It's having a large impact on the kind of life that you're going to live. And Jesuit education is not only not afraid, but we actively ask the questions, who are you? Who do you want to become? What do you want to do? What's going to bring you joy? What's going to bring you meaningful fulfillment? You're going to get a job. We know that. But what kind of life do you? What constitutes a good and meaningful and worthwhile life? We ask those questions as early as the freshman year when you can go on a retreat for about 48 hours, right through into the senior year, when you might be taking a capstone course with a professor. Numerous opportunities to do that, so that you really do have that kind of attention to personal growth and development, becoming the human being you're going to be, and the kind of life, really deciding what kind of life you want. At this point, let me encourage my great colleagues to find their way up to these chairs. Please, as I said, engage with them. Take advantage of their wisdom, their insight, and save any admission or financial aid questions for me at the end. Tap into what they know best, which is the student experience here at Connell College. You're in a really